You're listening to the Bombad Generals.
General? Oh.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back. We've got a special, first time ever, I think a two-part episode today, looking at two different tournament recaps that happened over the weekend. Yeah. We had the Indy Open, which happened on Friday and Saturday, and then we had the Atlantic City Open on Saturday and Sunday. So to get things started, we've got Adam here from Indy Garrison. Indy Garrison Talks, the podcast.
Well, it's all together. But yeah.
I don't know the official name. You were involved with the event. You were streaming, right? You were helping with the streaming setup.
I was playing. Joe was our guy running the stream and everything.
Good old Joe.
Yeah.
Joe.
Sounds made up to me,
Hicks.
but anyway.
Joseph Hicks.
Kind of like Todd.
Pass on the Discord, yeah.
So it is an interesting event for many reasons. But we'll start with just the event overall. New event, Indy Open, it's its own thing. It's not part of the FLG series. It's just really good community over in Indianapolis. Other than the couple of jerks that I've met in person who happen to be at the final table. How was it from, Friday, Saturday? How did that work out for you guys? How'd you get 49 players? It seems like a lot.
Yeah. As Indianapolis is a big old hub for Legion, so I know 30 of these guys were kind of locals here. But then we did pull a solid, I think we had 7 or 8 states represented across the board, which was awesome. I gotta give a shout out to Matt Evans, Flawed Zombie on the Discord, because he's always been great at coordinating, outreach, networking, all that. He was the one that set it up, got everything sorted, got the venue and everything. And so in the past year, we've always done 32-man events. We've local events at our local game store. So we kind of decided to try something bigger, see how it is, and we ended up with Indy Garrison, or not Indy Garrison, Indy Open, at 49 players, which I think is the biggest event that's not at a con or something, which we're all really happy with.
49 is nothing to scoff at for any event other than the only ones that are consistently beating that are LVO Worlds sort of thing. So pretty dang impressive for a first year event.
Yeah, that is.
Now, next year, when it comes back, and if people are saying, man, dang, I missed out on Indy Open this year, what would you say is something that sets it apart?
So the fun thing that sets it apart is, it's a good question. I feel like it's always fun to see I don't know, because it's I don't want to say there's less on the line, because it's still a tournament and everything, but it's there's more time for social activities. I feel because when you're at a tournament and everything, it's always kind of you've always got the con, you're going to wander off and go to the con and whatnot. But here at Indy Open, we kind of we were able to hang out, and just talk with everyone. And I made a ton of new friends there and everything. I'm sure everyone else did as well. So it's just fun because you're able to really focus on a Legion and just get to know everyone in the community.
That's super cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things that interests me as far as that side of things is I don't recognize tons of the names. I'm sure some of them travel around, but I feel man, if I make it out to Indy Open, I'll meet 40 people that I've never met before, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of those names that I was looking through right now are people that are busy, can't travel as much as everyone else, so it felt great to give them all a chance to kind of get that big old tournament feel without having to worry too much about other commitments and whatnot.
Very nice. Awesome.
That is nice.
Same time next year for Indy Open? Aiming for midsummer?
Probably midsummer. Next year, we are shooting to do it probably as a Friday, Saturday event. I think that was the one thing that we noted from this year is that because it was the first kind of our trial run for it, Matt was able to find a venue in a church gym for relatively cheap. So not too much loss because it's not at a con or anything. So with the success of it this year, we're probably looking to do one Friday, Saturday to kind of go with that. But same time next year. Yeah.
Okay. Keep an
Cool
eye
to
out for
hear.
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that. Go for it, Seth.
Oh
You
no,
look- you're gonna jump
I
in.
like to hear that. I work
Yeah.
on Sundays, so Friday, Saturday events. I'm
They're your
very
thing.
interested in that. And there, yeah.
No PTO required if you don't need it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now I'm very interested to transition. Yeah, to transition, not to speak, but to transition and talk about kind of some of the takeaways from this event, because it was very different, I feel, than what we've been seeing. And I'm curious how much of that is maybe a local thing, like, you know, if it's more, hey, this is what the local meta has always looked like, or if it's more people trying different things with the new points change. Because I think the trend we've basically been seeing is a move towards lots of Imperials, lots of clones, so lots and lots of those red saves, and the dwindling of the white saves. But Rebels were the biggest faction here at 15 players.
Yes.
Yeah, here we go. Here we're going to see that sweet pie chart. Unusual for 2023.
Indeed. Yes.
So, I would say it's kind of a mix of both, because us Indy Garrison guys have played, like, a lot of us play Rebels, so, and then kind of branched out to community and everything. And I know there's tend to be a Rebel hotspot in the Legion scene in Indy here, but there's still more than I expected to, because I know a lot of names on here. I kind of expected to be running Empire, and they probably would have been running Empire if it was before points, because I know half a dozen at least of these names were running double darks before points. So yeah, I was happy with how Rebels did, at least.
Yeah. Were there still double darks that showed up at the event? That's one of the things I've been keeping an eye on.
We had 2 double dark lists. One, I believe, was with Boba, so that's kind of like that standard list. And then there was one, I believe, with Moff Gideon. And then we also did have a triple dark list show up as well.
Ooh, that still fits. Okay.
There you
Okay.
go. What I like looking at this faction breakdown, I think this is how like normal tournaments should look like. Like it's pretty even throughout, and of course mercenaries, since they're a battle force, is not as much as the others. But I just like looking at that, I'm like, man, that's actually refreshing just to see kind of an even breakdown.
I think I had, all of the 5 games I played, I think I only played 2 against red saves, which was really nice for once, because things were actually dying.
Yeah,
Yeah, did
unlike
it feel
Worlds, where,
refreshing as far as like, man, I'm not playing against the same stuff all the time?
yeah,
It felt good, because it was I had 5 different lists that I played against. All 5 of my matchups were all very different archetypes, which felt really good. That was kind of the thing that I didn't feel with Darks coming out and how Blizzard took over and everything. So and I'm pretty sure a lot of people at the event felt the same way. So it felt really good. Yeah.
good.
Now, top 2 players. So winner, we can start with the winner. Brian Bear, Wee Bear, claim to fame, was a couple years ago Adepticon, hitting the scene hard with his triple dish and double land speeder list. They made the land speeder better, and he abandoned them. But
He did.
running triple Mandos, and spoiler alert, I think we'll see another heavy Mando list making an appearance. But I think couple takeaways. He put a lot of medics. As someone who literally last night played a quad Mando list with Shadow Collective, having that medics, those heals is very important. It goes a long way.
Yeah.
But also, this was something Brian was playing, I believe, before even the points change, right? So we're still seeing like the advantage of knowing your list and practicing with it, as opposed to, points change, I'm going to try something completely new.
Yeah, he's been playing this. I remember playing against it like October of last year, so he's been playing it pretty much since then. And he was just ranting and raving about how points changes got him that extra medic and that extra act, because it was 9 acts before, and it just kind of shows. Yeah.
As someone who's been potentially a victim, I don't know how your game went, of this list, what would you say? What's your takeaway from the other side of the table?
It's a very hard list to play against, just because it is so absurdly tanky. Because with those, Mando saves with Nimble and 6 heals, the three med bots, and then of course Boba and everything. Because there's still a lot of burst in the list as well. From Boba with his flamer and rocket, and then of course the Mando rockets. So it's just a very hard list to play against if you can't close the gap and kind of put pressure on him early, because he just to play pretty cagey, and then end of the game he's just like, oh, I'm just gonna delete 2 of your units and win on kill points or something.
Yeah, it's not necessarily, it's a list that can alpha strike, but can just sit back, pick its moment, grab something from long range.
Yeah,
especially since we're seeing snipers come back, like Mando rockets, pretty good taking out snipers, pretty good.
Yep. The Impervious helps them too, so like fight against snipers.
Yep.
Which is
that's the Rebel version, not getting the shields. Yeah, you need those medics around for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
How are the tables? I mean, obviously, I feel like this is also a list where that insider, I'm a local advantage can come into play, where it's like, okay, I'm not going to be caught in the middle of nowhere. So like, from your perspective, how would you say the tables were skewing? Heavy, light, good mix?
I would say it was a good mix, kind of more bordering on denser tables, because the tables that we've had from Indy, we kind of play on more dense tables because you can show off more. But then also the tables that we got from Cincinnati and elsewhere also just kind of leaned on the more dense side. So that's so it was just kind of tables were a little bit more dense, but like still open enough that like other armies succeeded and whatnot.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I like, if I had to go a little bit more one way than the other, denser is more interesting.
Even with the new heavy cover rules, for sure.
Yeah, there's cover, and then there's like LOS and stuff as far as tactics. So sounds just like Brian made a good overall call, like familiarity, good knowing the terrain, and if white saves are coming back, having those rockets around, pretty good. Pretty
nice.
Yeah. So good to see Rebels doing something. Rebel Boba, the best character, as I've always said. Yeah, ranting and raving about how much I love Rebel Boba.
It's that independent standby really makes him shine,
I mean, say what you will. His one good thing is his rocket. So rule with respect. Overrated card, I think, generally, but this list has a plan for it. This list makes good use of it.
Yeah, that's true.
In my opinion. So, I don't know if we want to touch much on any of the other lists. I know, the other player at the top table are Tyler, another very good player. I think
another white save army.
Another white save army, and another army running something he was familiar with.
Yep.
Which is, again, I think a theme to watch. So it was like a 10 act. Yeah, boss.
It was 11 act. 11 act.
11
it says, on if you're watching on video, it says 801. That's because like the game uplink hasn't been updated with the new points. Just FYI.
Yeah, just it's droids, it's gunline, it's Magnus. Again, something that he knows well. When I played him back in 2022, he was running, something with 2 Magnas and a lot of B1s, right? So there's something to that.
Was everyone running Magnas in 2022?
That is true. Pikes? Everyone but me. Yeah,
it's before Pikes for sure.
Right. He's stuck with it and showed he's more than just a guy with a good list. He's a good player.
Yes.
I mean, that's the other thing we're seeing, right? 2 very good players. So, hey, what do you know? Making their way. So if you want to win events, just be a very good player. That's our takeaway here. Find a list
that you just like Dave Grant. It looks a little skewed, but like a list that you just know and play, and just pray to the buff gods that the points show favor to it. Yeah.
What was your approach, Adam? Were you jumping on a bandwagon or choosing something that?
I played something I was familiar with because I was a little bit of both. I had Lando, Boba, with the land speeder, and then a couple other things. Boba land speeder is what I brought to Worlds. So I'm very familiar with it. So I want to try out Lando because Lando I think is really good with the 10 points cut and everything. And then of course wanted to try out the SX Troopers, which actually worked out pretty well. They were great at holding objectives and still had a great shot even when they weren't able to close a range 2. And so yeah, it was just a little bit of both.
We were talking actually in one of our recent episodes about Lando Boba, given the forum ruling for Ace Up His Sleeve, where you can now issue that order to Boba Fett. Were you making good use of that over the weekend?
I think I made use of it once when I kind of stuck him out there with a flamer shot, but I was running because the way I was writing the list was putting Boba in the speeder. Usually didn't have a chance to.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So good, not despite that, but it doesn't need the gimmick to succeed.
Oh yeah.
I'm hearing.
They just
That's
have a
good.
lot of options altogether. Because there was a couple games that I used it for the discard, but then I also was able to use it for just passing out a bunch of standbys and getting zoning out a Boba Din dive list. So like just there's a lot of options. So many options with this pair.
Cool
to hear.
Happy to see Rebels doing well.
Yeah.
Next year, if there's still no buffs, I'll try to make it out for some easy wins against Rebels. That sounds great. Pad the stats. But
They'll have
no,
Ewoks then, so who knows?
who knows? I still haven't gotten a chance to try them. Anyways, we mentioned at the top, Adam, you do a bunch of stuff. Anything you want to plug before we sign off for this section of the pod?
Yeah, so as kind of in the same podcast train, we do Indy Garrison does our own podcast called Garrison Talks over on Spotify, and our YouTube channel over at I believe it's also Indy Garrison on YouTube. Try to get things up bi-weekly. We're also trying to get some more content up on there, and then of course you can always visit our website over at indianapolisgarrison.com, where we started a blog, kind of died for a little bit, and now we're trying to bring it back. So any support, of course, just check that out as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We'll link to
Sweet.
both. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you, Adam.
Yeah.
Well, catch us after the break for our next interview.
Talking about Atlantic City Open. Today's episode is brought to you by Hondo Inaka's Vitamin Supplements. My man Hondo is an experienced and well-respected businessman, and he's got an innovative new sales technique. He wants to get his supplements out to the market, so he wants you to help sell them and recruit friends to do the same. Buy a bunch of vitamins from Hondo, then sell them to customers. Also, if you recruit friends to sell them, then you'll get a portion of all their future sales. If those friends recruit friends, then you get a portion of those sales as well. It's easy money with what Hondo calls triangular investing. Learn for yourself at thisventureisdefinitelyprofitable.com. Hello everyone and welcome back from the break. It's a new day. Seth had to leave us. He had excuses about kids or something like that, but excuses. I have no more third co-host to join me, so it's just me, but luckily I've got Josh, Fluffysaurus from the Discord. Sort of a local. I think you're still mostly nominally based out of Portland. I know you've been traveling around a bit.
Not anymore.
Okay, that's
I've
why
been
you were at Atlantic
displaced.
City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm on the East Coast now. So just moved there a couple days ago. So actually, just settling in.
Okay, I feel less bad now. I was worried I was like, oh no. Yeah, okay, I thought that was a long trip. We were talking about Atlantic City Open, which took place, I assume, I've never looked it up, in Atlantic City in
Yep.
New Jersey.
Yes, you
This
guessed
is my
it.
Canadian geography skills here. Okay, sweet. We're off to a roaring start. Clearly, I do a lot of research prior to the show. But we finished the last conversation talking about some meta takeaways from Indy Open, which we saw Rebels win somehow. And I wanted to kind of just pick up from where we left off there. So I guess first off, Josh, we were talking in the first half of the show about how close this was to points changes, and how we saw kind of people running lists that they were familiar with from even before the points changes, and they tended to be doing pretty well. How did you approach Atlantic City Open for yourself?
Yeah, so I kind of thought maybe I would see some of the same trends of a lot of GAR, and then I really wasn't sure beyond that, but I felt pretty confident I was going to see lots of GAR. So I was like, okay, I'll bring some Pierce. Pierce is good, right? So I was running a Vader, Iden kind of Pierce spam with ISF in there. And so that was kind of my thought process going into it. And then I went to Bay Area Open about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and that was before the points changed, obviously. So it was a very nice barometer of, okay, here's the list before, and then here's the list after. I had about 10 extra points I had to make some cuts in. So just some what I thought was going to be minor cuts, and then they turned out to be not so minor. So what
did you lose? Because I've got pulled up here. So we've got, Iden, Imperial Officer for those listening at home, Vader, Operative, of course, 2 Shores with T-21s, 2 Mortars, ISF, Snipers, not a lot of upgrades, just lean, mean, 800 points, 10x. Yeah, talk us through it.
Yeah, so I previously had Into the Fray on Vader, and then I had Improvised Orders on Becky. So improvised orders ended up not being a big deal. It was just kind of a convenience luxury thing. I don't really believe in a 5-point bid. And so I just decided to kind of slap it on there. The big thing though, of course, that I'm sure people are interested in is choke. And I was running choke before, and I was one of the guys that's like, yeah, I think choke is okay. A free wound is a free wound, that'll be great. And choke is dead. Long live the choke. I really think. Hot take.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I haven't played with or against it since the change, but I would say I would fall into that camp. So I'm very wise choke dead.
So I mean, other than definitely counting for operator error, which is always a thing when I'm in the mix here. So. Get good, roll better, pilot matters, get more crits. So basically, Vader loved to just sit on center objective points and, blast with the Rico here, choke out heavy, stuff like that. He's really in his prime as a beat stick, and particularly in the Vader context, losing choke just hurts so bad. And, also hurts his objective play quite a bit, which the force push change just kind of compounded that as well. So yeah, just not having that ability to neuter 2 squads at once is huge and really, really hurts Vader. Also, I would definitely toss Maul Shadow Collective in there too, as kind of operating pretty similarly.
Yeah, I like I feel what you're saying about the jump out, scatter someone towards you, choke them, and then even, jump back behind something. I think there's a reason we see, tell me if you have a difference of opinion, but I'll speak for Seth here as well. Myself and Seth, I think we see Anakin and Yoda as the 2 premier force users right now. And those guys both have really good support abilities before they get into the mix, whereas that was kind of Vader's version of that. He could, from afar, 10 inches or so away, kind of still start choking stuff out. Now he doesn't have that, so really he's not doing much other than zoning until he gets in. So I could see how that would be a huge loss.
Yeah, absolutely.
Did you face...
Okay.
You go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, he doesn't have any support, so it's all him. Basically it's him or the threat of being him. I'm firmly on trained reflexes now, at least for Vader. That's all I can speak to. But just again with the deflect changes hurting, and then slotting in at a really nice 5 points. You slap him in heavy cover with a dodge, towards the end of a round, he's probably going to be pretty safe. And it also, I think, really makes him a better duelist. So I was just playing today actually on TTS, and he was able to deal with a maul pretty well. Just, having that extra dodge really helps out in a duel with another force user or melee character. So I think I'm going to try reflexes for now, and then maybe I'll just abandon Vader altogether, but we'll see.
Well, speaking of duelists, because one of the upgrades you dropped was Into the Fray. Did you miss Into the Fray on Vader with those?
Oh man,
surges?
Yeah, and I suffered for not being able to practice for 2 weeks. Somehow just playing off of my phone hotspot in the car was not really a thing. So. Yeah, so I didn't realize how much my list kind of sucked with having just those losses. And yeah, Into the Fray, man, it really hurt not having that. I think I lost Vader 3 out of 4 games, and each time, if he had one more surge, he would have lived at a very crucial moment. So it's very poignant of like, oh, yep, if I just had Into the Fray, I'd be alive. So yeah, I think right now, my personal take for Vader is reflexes and Into the Fray just makes him a really strong, tanky unit. And, at least you're getting that out of him, and he's not going to go down to another force user easily, particularly with Implacable. So it just kind of slightly changes, I think, how you approach him, particularly in a Jedi battle.
Interesting. I painted up my Op Vader a while ago, but I haven't put him on the table yet. So I'm taking notes because I do want to put him on the table.
Yeah,
IRL.
He's still good. So I would say he's not dead. So, he's not broken.
Enough about you. You didn't. That's good, I guess, in a sense. Are you sure he's not dead though? That's the question. Are we sure yet?
My hot take is he is serviceable. I'm strong enough to say serviceable. Okay. And definitely, maybe it's a bit of a sunk cost fallacy, but I think the more games you have with him and the more experience, you can squeeze some juice out of him for sure.
Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of unlearning some of the things you've learned with him with the Force Choke over the years. If you've been playing him for years, which some people have. But anyways, bigger picture, zooming out from just you, faction breakdown. Honestly, pretty similar to Indy. Before you mentioned you were at Bay Area Open, which was the extreme version of no rebels, like one separatist or something, and no mercenaries. Like basically a few separatists, but like very few white saves. And it rebounded a bit here at ACO. We're seeing 9 Republic, 8 Rebels, 7 Empire, looks like maybe 6 Separatists. It's hard to say, it's cut off. But what were your thoughts just kind of looking at the 32-person field? Was there anything that jumped out at you?
I think you need to have, when you're list building competitively, you need to have an answer, or at least have thought about, generally speaking, how are you going to handle arcs. And I would also include Mandos in that, because those are 2 units that are really burgeoning in popularity right now. And that's something you got to think of, something I saw a lot of at ACO, a lot of really good players maximizing them really well. So a lot of Gar in general. Gar was on a bit of a hiatus for a little while, but they're back. The clones are back. So you gotta think through how you're going to punch through that Gar shield, or how you're not going to punch through it.
Right. And was Iden and all that high velocity, all that pierce, was that just not enough?
At Bay Area, I played Darth Vader, who was had several Medroids and Guardian with the IRG, and that was when I realized the limitation of Pierce. Is that there are a lot of tools out there these days that kind of mitigate the Pierce. With CIS, you see a lot of repair spam, whether that's heal droids or Medroids, and also with Gar, you've got Boil, you've got Force Reflexes, and then even with arcs, like just anecdotal evidence, I shot an arc strike team probably about 3 or 4 times with a Pierce, but they about 4 times in a row they never went down. They just double saved, and that just is super sad. But it's about a 50% chance, honestly, that you don't even punch a shot through, even with a Pierce 1 shot. So, and then you mix Boil and Force Barrier warrior into that. And yeah, Pierce alone is not enough. And that's, I think, a takeaway I would offer to others, is that when you're thinking about guard, just having a Pierce or two is not really going to do a lot, because there's a lot of really good defensive tech out there.
Man, yeah, this got me worried. I mean, at that point, what can you do if that doesn't work against guard anymore? And it's interesting that you mentioned Arcs and Mandos, because I don't know how closely you were following Indy Open, but that was won by Boba triple Mando list for Rebels with Weebear, and triple medics as well, lots and lots of heals. The other night I was playing a Shadow Collective list with Mandos and double heals, or heals from the bus, I should say. And I think at ACO, at least after day one of the 3-0 lists was I believe it was a Maul quad Mandos.
There was at least
a guard quad Mandos list. But again, Mandos. I didn't notice Arcs. Did you? Yeah. So would you say there was? I just didn't notice Arcs as much in the lists that were popping up, but a good representation, full Arc squads with Yoda. Anakin?
I think I saw a fair mix of Yoda,
mainly?
Anakin, and also generally speaking, I think you're going to continue to see more of Yoda, Anakin. I think I saw both strike teams. Echo is also super popular, and he more than one time he offed some of my Imperial snipers, and he can do that if you load him up with a couple aims and get those 2 crits going. You're still not safe even with low profile. So He's kind of still I would say definitely you need to think through, how am I going to see Echo? You are extremely likely to see an Echo somewhere if you're playing Gar.
But where we are not likely to see Echo, once again, I'm just killing it with the transitions here today as I slowly pull up the screen share. Let's take a look at the top list. Austin Miller, someone asked in the Discord, I believe, before the event, what do you guys think is going to win? And I very presciently said, probably CIS, because I bet that's what Austin Miller is playing. And what do you know? Pat myself on the back. Austin Miller, much like in Indy Open, where we saw Tyler and Brian battling it out on the final table, Austin taking it home. It's just good players being good, finding ways to win. Ventress, Cad, Double Bounty, if you want it, or just Makashi, which we've seen really good into other Force users, and a burst of speed Ventress, drop and choke. Any thoughts from your side as our man on the ground in ACO?
Yeah, I think Austin Miller, he's the player, one of the players to beat now. So anything he pilots, I'm sure is going to be great. But also really tracks with an observation on TTS a lot lately. Bane, I think, is a CIS powerhouse right now. He's not going to be the guy that tables 3 squads or something like that. Mm-hmm. But he can really win you the game. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I noticed day 1 Austin was winning most of his games by objective play and not by huge, kill point margins. So Bane is really a crucial piece in that. And I think he's a really solid pickup for any CIS players out there.
Yeah, I think Bane is one of those ones where I feel like I keep seeing him do great stuff in CIS, and then as a not CIS player, I'm always like, well, can I fit him into Shadow Collective or Empire? And then it's always like, no, he needs that comms relay reverse order control. And Ventress just combos really well with that because she's got independent dodge. She's also an operative. And again, Makashi, really, really good. And probably she's just better now that she doesn't have to worry about as much Vader and those kind of guys hanging around to beat her down in melee. So a good meta call. And again, hey, look at that, 2 med droids. We are seeing the resurgence of the medical droid. So that's good. And then the last couple things that I think everyone is really happy to see. A couple plucky upstart lists that made it far.
Did not make it far.
No, that's your list. Hold up.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, but I still appreciate the effort. I think it's a good concept. Here we go. Jonathan, I believe he didn't officially finish in the top 3 on the game uplink, but from what I can tell, he was the final table opponent of Austin. And hey, look at this. Darth Vader with 4 speeder bikes, 2 HRUs. What do you know? Crazy, right? Blizzard Force. Yeah, still good. We talked a lot about this with every points change. Things get hit, and then sometimes the right answer can be whatever was good before is probably still really good. Honestly, if you had asked me a week ago if I thought this list would still fit as is with all the points increases, I would not have thought so, but I guess you drop the transponders on the bikes, and yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, one thing I think you could also throw in the Dark Troopers as well here. They are not as there's not as many of them, but they're still quite potent. Like, yes, you still need to prepare for Dark Troopers. You still need to prepare for Blizzard. You may not see as many of them, but they're still, like you said, they're still really good, and you still need to consider them.
You read my mind there, Josh. For the viewers or for the listeners at home, Raul was the official number 2 according to Game Uplink, with Moff Gideon, 3 Storms, 2 Dark Troopers, and an Occupier tank. So the 5-man guys, but still with the cannon, the launcher, the programmed loyalty, lots of mobility. Getting the Darks. I measured this out on TTS a while ago. It's just a crazy distance that you can do just using the tank as a launch pad, essentially. If you move the tank up to the right position, the first guys can just get out, shoot. The next guys can embark with one action, shoot, and then move out the front, and you get over 6 inches of free movement from that. It can be pretty impressive if you're not ready for it.
Raul was actually what took me out round 2.
Well.
So I thought my Vader was safe, and then Gav Tank was like, no, you're not. So just scooted up, touched a piece of terrain that was in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, it's still very impressive. It still hurts a lot. He was just picking up activations with single shots, and then he also played Moment of Consideration, and fire supported his Gav Tank with a Dark Trooper, and that's when Vader went down. And big sad. I think Vader went down in 2 shots. Both of my shore heavies went down in 1 shot. It was just, it still hurts. Can confirm. Still hurts. Dark Troopers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Darks still do good stuff. Yeah, I think for me, that's still the number one thing I'm going to be tracking over the course of the summer is just how Darks are doing, because I think, as some people said to me, and I agree with the sentiment, Darks were nerfed enough that they can maybe be even better now, in the sense that they're nerfed enough that people might stop teching and then get rolled by them. And it's not like you were helpless, like you... In the olden days, we would have said, hey, look at all that critical, look at this marksman with Pierce. Hey, you're fine. But you can't do it fast enough.
That's exactly
when
what
it's closing
happened.
the gap.
I got a great hit on one of his Dark Troopers early on. I think I pretty much wiped it out turn 1, but then turn 2, the other one came and I had no answer, and he just started picking up axe and going twice. There's no outweighting them, there's no outrunning them, and it was Sabs, so I kind of had to stay home. So yep, they're still good, still impressive.
You said you don't believe in a 5-point bid, but this dark list only had a 1-point bid. Do you have regrets? Do you think a small bid would have saved you, given you a bit more time with some long deployments?
So, yeah, maybe I should have considered it. I don't know. I like the control that Red Player gives you, but I feel like also that's what everybody says. Oh yeah, no bid, but I think there is something to be said for a 5-point bid. Definitely.
I think so. As a former degenerate Darks player myself, the Darks having the bid is fantastic for them, but they can't bid a lot. And I really appreciated not playing against Darks, but in my own store championship a couple weeks back, I just kind of ended up with the 6-point bid because I ran out of things to spend points on. And IRL, just being able to choose, even say, hey, I want to be red player because the tables are a little funky, or we have the same list and I want to make sure I get last ban, still very powerful. So, yeah, people, don't feel like you gotta fill it up. Don't be like Josh.
Oh, shucks.
Or dude, Josh is still a very good player. He's being hard on himself, but he is a very good player. I've had a lot of very close games against you. So, before we go, any big picture things you want to say about ACO?
I do want to address something. I did hear that there was a lot of crap talking. I don't know if I can swear on this podcast. There's a lot of poodoo talking about ACO, and previously it was not run well. But I want to give a huge shout out to Brendan. He did an amazing job. Everybody there, Endless was there, roomed with him again. Really great experience with everyone there. So do come to ACO next year. I think Brendan has righted the ship there really well. So yeah, it was a very fun tournament. You know, it was fun people watching in the casino. So it was just a fun experience overall.
There you go. Awesome. Ring-in endorsement. Is it in?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
At the venue
basically, I've never been to Atlantic City, and how I would
place?
describe it as Vegas, but East Coast. That's it. So yeah.
Right. So if you wanted to go to LVO, but you want to do it in the summer, this sounds like your place. And I'm always a big fan of being able to stay at the venue. So that's it for me.
Particular, just a shout out to all the homies on the West Coast, the PDX crew. Roll better. You guys can do good things. And then to my new home, East Coast Game Castle crew. So just some shout outs there. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's a traitor, but that's okay. Worked out well for Anakin in the end. That's it, everybody. Thank you for our double featured tournament recap. And hopefully you can take some of these advice and go win yourself some store champs. Cool. And stay Gungan.
This has been the Bombad Generals.
Listening to Bombad Generals is not scientifically proven to make you a better Legion player. Side effects may include bad dice rolls, missed triggers, aim losses, bankruptcy, divorce, vomiting, and sudden death. Ask your doctor if Bombad Generals is right for you.